Hello and welcome. Until just recently, in the last few months or so, most Canadians had no idea of the Chinese Communist Party, its role, what it's doing in Canada, particularly what it's doing in the North. And now, it was just the other day, I read something in the mainstream news where they're saying Canada's North has so many minerals, aside from the diamonds, which you know about. There's so many minerals that the rest of the world covets. And we have a few, they're called Rangers up there with World War II rifles. And the other part of the world, Russia and China, are all over it. And only recently has the Canadian government started to say, well, you know what's going on there? We better pay attention to this because it's our land, your land, it's Canada's land. And it's very, very rich. And other people are after it. So I have the author with me of two books. This one is called Undercover. Gary Clement wrote it. This one is Canada Under Siege. Gary Clement wrote that too. He's a former RCMP officer, a very highly tuned level of curiosity, if I can put it that way, about what's going on. And so thank you for writing the books. Dean Baxendale is the publisher of them. They're big books and they're important books. And so welcome to the show and tell us what you have discovered. Let's leave the North for a few minutes about generally the Chinese Communist Party involvement in Canada, in politics, in money.
Thank you very much for having me, because I do think this is a story that Canadians need to hear and actually need to be concerned about.
What's the story then?
The Chinese Communist Party has been gradually infiltrating our country probably since the early 90s or even before that. And it was always based on the fact that it was good business, good for the government to have an economic relationship.
And they still say that in many respects. Great trade.
Exactly.
And if you criticize it, well, it's because you're racist.
Exactly.
And we have some cabinet ministers or former cabinet ministers, senators, MPs who say, don't talk to me about that because otherwise you're racist.
Precisely. The unfortunate part of it is what they're overlooking is that the Chinese Communist Party is entrenched in our diaspora communities. You've got Ground Zero, which happens to be Vancouver. Ontario fell right behind that. And they've entrenched into our system, which includes elite capture of a lot of our politicians. And I hate to say it, but it comes down in a lot of cases to greed trumping ethics. And the one that really strikes me and really hit home for us was the little island, Prince Edward Island, where we've got Anna Green cables, and you look at it and you say, well, why Prince Edward Island?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because I was going to say that. Compared to Vancouver, Toronto, why PEI?
Take a look at it from a strategic location of where it's located. If you take a look at it, how China has invested heavily in various Caribbean islands, and you were to do a map of every place they've invested and tie that back into Prince Edward Island, strategically, yeah, it could be of tremendous value down the road.
You know, I understand some Caribbean islands. I understand other places where there are minerals. We'll talk about the North in a few minutes. But you know what? There's not a huge market for potatoes.
No, there's not. But a forward operating base set up in Prince Edward Island, I would think would be pretty attractive to the Communist Party. And
so how do you know this? What is the Communist Party doing in PEI right now?
There's a monastic group that is set up. It's called Bliss and Wisdom. And they've set up on the island. They've built these massive alleged temples. And they're set up there, and you look at them on the surface, they look great. They say they're tied to the Dalai Lama.
Right.
Thanks to the investigation of Dean, who actually went and talked to the Sikh Dan, who is directly tied to the Dalai Lama, we've been able to establish categorically that they're not tied to the Dalai Lama. This is all part and parcel of the PRC Communist Party. And that
the Communist Party, by definition, the government they say that the Dalai Lama is part of them, and the Dalai Lama and his community say farthest thing from the truth, right?
That is right. They're not the truth. They are not tied. In fact, they don't want to be tied to the PRC government.
Right.
Because the PRC government, the only way I would describe it in my years of looking at it, probably the biggest transnational organized crime group in the history of the world.
Okay, so we're coming up to the time for a break. I'm going to take that break, and when we come back, I'm giving you fair notice right now. I want you to talk to us specifically of how you know what they're doing in PEI is illegal. Right back after this.